Hey guys, how's it going? Srey here. So today I want to talk about our Tauren friend E.T.C. and how good is E.T.C really? Well, it turns out he's pretty good. Who would have thought? Even with the changes, he is still top picked and perhaps even better than ever. So you have the three tanks in Hero League. You got Myrden, you got Chen, and you got our old pal E.T.C. So E.T.C used to be a stun bot. He used to be, hey, I'll just power slide on you and everyone else follow up. And I have Mosh for you guys. But now he's more of utility, he's more split push, and he's more effective, some would say. Others would miss his stun bot kind of play, but I'd argue that it's refreshing and that he actually does more than just simply stun targets. So I actually made a video already about E.T.C, and I'm going to make this one instead because I think it was too long. So I'm going to try and shorten things. So the first thing I'm going to cover is are his talents. So level 1, we got Guitar Hero, we've got Prog Rock, and we've got Block Party. So Guitar Hero is trash, okay? Prog Rock is really good, and Block Party is really good. Prog Rock and Block Party are among the best talents in the game of any hero, especially level 1 talents. So for a second, let's look at Guitar Solo, which is regenerate 145 health per second, 4 seconds. Obviously, we're level 20, but so this talent is going to increase this from 145 to 245, which is almost a 70% increase in healing. That is a lot of health. That is a huge increase, especially when it already heals that much. And as well, you have basically a groupies effect, which was a talent that E.T.C had at 13 previously. So it's kind of a double whammy. Not only do you have the quest, but you also have the reward part. It's extremely strong. The groupies part, the reward, equals roughly 2/3 of Brightwing's healing, AoE healing, which is, I mean, extremely high. So you have basically a tank that can heal almost as well as a direct support. Now, a block party is also very, very strong. So it basically gives you and all of your allies, your nearby allies, a stack of block for 50% for 8 seconds, stacking up to 2 times. So this is very strong as well, especially against auto attack heroes. But even if you're not against auto attack heroes, every hero is going to attack. So you're basically reducing, since the cooldown for all of his abilities is about 8 seconds is the lowest. You're going to proc all of your abilities at least once within 8 seconds. So you're going to get 1.5 charges of block, or sorry, 3 charges of block. I don't know what I'm saying. So that's going to reduce 1.5 autos worth of damage, which is quite a lot actually for level 1 talent. If you consider that one auto is going to be, I don't know, 1 to 2 to 300 damage, and you're going to reduce 1.5 per hero or ally hero around you, that's a lot of damage reduced. So Block Party is very effective. It's just the prog rock I think is better, especially on maps that you can stack your globes. So if you're on Battlefield of Eternity where there aren't a lot of globes, Block Party might be better. Or if you're on Towers of Doom and you think they might not be able to get as many globes as you need to, or if they have a ton of auto attack reliant heroes, then again, that's Block Party is going to be might be the better option. Guitar Hero, I mean, you could consider it if it's Battlefield of Eternity where there are no globes and the enemy team is a Tychus who just shreds through block, or they have Tracer or something like that, then you could consider Guitar Hero, but it's just not good. Okay, so 5% attack speed bonus, so from 20 to 25%, wow, big whoop. That's nothing. And then the 35% healing off auto attacks is nothing compared to the damage reduced by Block Party or Prog Rock. Okay, so Prog Rock, generally the option. A level 4, loudspeakers is going to be your option, or the recommended talent that I would say that you take. Crowd Surfer, I feel like, is too gimmicky. Going over walls and terrain is nice, but I mean, Power Slide is a 12-second cooldown, and it's very rare that you'll be able to actually slide through an enemy. What will likely happen is that you slide through, you're sieging a tower, and you slide through the wall or something, or you slide through the gate and you catch them unsuspecting, and pretty much all the other uses are going to be you escaping over a wall where you might have otherwise died. I think that loudspeakers is just more reliable and will give you more value most of the time. As I said, I think Crowd Surfer is just too gimmicky. Speed Metal is only 10% movement speed. It's not. I don't think it's effective enough to warrant taking it over loudspeakers, especially when you get mic check, which is recommended talent at 13 here, which works really well with loudspeakers. So let's reset talents
Choose a
here. So
talent.
okay, so you can see that the radius increase as well is a lot more. So without the
Choose a
talent,
talent.
you have this, and with the talent, you have this. It's a big, big, big increase. 50%. That's what would happen. At level 7, I'm going to recommend Echo Pedal, and this is by far the recommendation I would say at level 7 is way better than the other options here. So Pinball Wizard is 200% more damage, so basically 3 times more damage on your face melt. So on Power Slide, you get an extra, so this is 149, so face or Pinball Wizard would do an extra 298 damage when you use face melt. Note that this does not work with any kind of like with Encore here, which leaves an amp behind, that does not stack with that. So this is a one-time proc. And also note that since the cooldown Power Slide and Face Melt is different. So 12 seconds on Power Slide and 10 seconds on Face Melt. So since the Power Slide is 12 seconds, which is longer than 10 seconds, it's going to be the limiting option. So you'll actually only be able to increase damage every 12 seconds. And note that you don't always combo, so you won't always benefit from this damage. Echo Pedal is by and large the better option between these two. And if you look at Hammer On, 30% more damage for the next 2 basic attacks. Look at basic attacks. That's 217. 30% is about 65. So as it happens, it's going to give you 2 charges or two, basically going to allow you to do 65 damage twice. Which, if you look at Echo Pedal, 64 damage twice. So Hammer On is basically doing 65 damage to a single target when you use an ability. You can use it twice. So Echo Pedal is going to do AoE damage, and it also does 128 damage versus minions and monsters, which is going to proc twice as well. So you get way, way, way more value. Basically, Echo Pedal is an AoE and super effective versus minions and monsters version of Hammer. So Echo Pedal, amazing talent. Okay, so since you have Echo Pedal and amazing talent, let's take Stage Dive. Basically, Stage Dive is really good now because of 2 reasons. Well, it's good because of 1 reason. It's good because Echo Pedal is now available to E.T.C. At level 7, and it's and Mosh Pit is less good now because E.T.C no longer has his level 4 talent, which increased the movement speed, power slide by 100%, increased the width by 30%. So since he no longer has that, Mosh Pit is less effective, and because of Echo Pedal, Stage Dive is more effective. So Stage Dive, really strong. If you actually ever looked at the damage it does 724 damage at level 20 at least. And that's a lot of damage. If you look at the damage on Power Slide, 200 damage. Okay. So you're power sliding more than 6 times, like almost 6.5 times or more, sorry. And that's a lot of damage. Did I say 6? Yeah, not 6. So Stage Dive is going to do a lot of damage, and it also slows in an area by 50% for 3 seconds. That's a flat 50% slow. That's not a fading 50% slow over 3 seconds. So it's a lot of damage and a big slow. There's also, I mean, not even if you don't even include that, it's a global ability that allows you to split push with Echo Pedal. So Echo Pedal gives you wave clear where you previously had none, and because you have wave clear on E.T.C now, then you can split push around the map, which is why I would recommend you play E.T.C with a double tank comp so that you can have one tank stay with the team and E.T.C can split push because he's actually a very strong 1v1 hero now. You can actually 1v1 heroes like Vala, especially when you have imposing presence and when you have prog rock stacked at level 1 and other talents. You can actually just 1v1 a lot of heroes in the game very effectively. So Stage Dive is the option I'm going to recommend. It's not to say that Mosh Pit is bad or you shouldn't take it, but it's you really don't want to take Mosh Pit unless the enemy team has really no interrupts and it's a small map. So on your Tomb of the Spider Queen and they have no interrupts, okay, well, let's go with Mosh Pit. But even on that map, I still think that Stage Dive has a lot of value. Just make sure that when you're using Stage Dive, you're not just in the fight and you Stage Dive right on top of yourself. Like that's not how you'd want to use Stage Dive. You'd want to use Stage Dive as you're split pushing and you join a fight with Stage Dive, or you start a fight. You don't want to just use it in the, if you find yourself always having Stage Dive available in the fight, you're not playing E.T.C correctly. You're not playing with Stage Dive correctly. You should be using that ability to join a fight, or at the very least, finishing off enemies as they're running away. The slow cannot be understated, and the global effectiveness is so strong, especially on big maps like Towers of Doom, Cursed Hollow, um, Warhead Junction, especially. Very, very, very strong talent. Okay, so also to note that you can use Stage Dive to escape. as well as engage. This cooldown on 75-second cooldown on a global ability that does that much damage, that's that much slow. I would expect the cooldown to be 100 seconds, but let's not tell Blizzard that because I don't want that to get nerfed because no one even uses it properly right now anyway. If you can master stage dive with E.T.C, you're gonna be a monster. So level 13, you have Mic Check, Encore, Face Melt. Mic Check basically reduces the cooldown by a Face Melt from 10 seconds to 4 seconds. That's pretty much exactly what it's going to do because you're always going to hit 2 targets because it's really, really easy to hit 2 targets, especially with the increased radius at level 4. Encore, I've just never found any value from this ability. It doesn't increase, as I said before, any radius or knockback from loudspeakers level 4, so you just get an untalented, shitty amp that stays there and does basically nothing. Face melt is nice, 60%. This is actually nerfed. It used to be 80%. But even if this is 80%, I'd probably still take my check anyway because going from 10 seconds to 4 seconds, and your job at EDC is to peel or displace. It's just I feel like you can't give this up. It's more than 50% cooldown reduction. It's an insane amount. Okay, level 16, you actually have some options to choose from here. So imposing presence, you're gonna want versus auto attack heroes. So Vala, Zagara, things like that. Um, it's going to be really good against heroes with more burst damage. So Kerrigan, Tyrannida, heroes kind of bursty, KT stuff like that. Casters basically. Showstopper is good, and then in all other situations where they don't have auto attack heroes and they don't have burst damage, aggressive shredding is the option. So aggressive shredding might look bad, but it's actually very very strong. So the cooldown on guitar solo is 8 seconds and it lasts for 4 seconds. Okay, so you have 50% uptime. And what this is going to do, so if you actually, I don't know if you've ever noticed, but E.T.C now has a rockstar icon. So when you use an ability, you can see that it lasts for 4 seconds here, and then after it disappears, that means you no longer benefit from attack speed. Um, so naturally, actually have cool, okay. When you activate guitar solo, you'll notice that when this is halfway done, this is 4 seconds, right? So because obviously that's how cooldowns work. However, when you get aggressive shredding here and you're auto attacking a target, the cooldown reduction is so much you'll actually get it before Rockstar ends up. So what it does is this talent should basically read reduce the cooldown of guitar solo by like 55% or something. So what this does is it gives you 100% uptime on guitar solo as long as you're attacking a target, which you should be, especially since you're the tank. And this is going to have amazing effectiveness with prog rock at level 1. It also helps with echo paddle at level 7 because you can constantly proc your guitar solo. And note that this is kind of a minor thing, but not really. When you're pushing in lanes, you don't always want to push with power slide, right? You don't always want to push with your base melt. Having a lower cooldown reduction on guitar solo allows you to wave clear without using abilities like power slide and face melt. Especially face melt isn't bad to use because the cooldown is only 4 seconds because you have mic check, but it'll knock the minions away and make it harder to clear. So it actually gives you a lot better wave clear, especially when you're split pushing in the lane. Okay, level 20. Crowd Pleaser is obviously the talent I'm going to recommend here. Tour Bus is bad almost all the time, and Storm Shield is just not a talent you want on ETC. You can't get Tour Bus anyway because you don't have Mosh, but even if you did have Mosh, I'd recommend going Bolt of the Storm because you can Bolt Mosh, which is a very powerful combo, just as good as it ever was. So the other options here we have, if we go Stage Dive, so we have Crowd Pleaser, Death Metal, and Bolt of the Storm. So death metal can be good if you have mosh or stage dive. It's situational though. It's more if you're just really comfortable and they seem to be stacking on you a lot and they have a lot of melee. And maybe you get some value. This ability can be completely game changing because since you're dead when you're casting mosh pit, it's uninterruptible. So very very strong if you actually get people in it. But again, it depends on your teammates to actually follow up. I've seen 5-man death metals before, and they absolutely win the game. I've also seen ETC get this, and it's never benefited him at all, and it does nothing. So take that into consideration. But crowd pleaser, 50% bigger, and the cooldown is reduced by 10 seconds instead of um, 15 seconds, which it used to be. So remember that it's actually got stealth nerfed. So if you used to hit 5 targets with it, 5 heroes with it, it reduced the cooldown. Since the cooldown reduction or cooldown of stage dive is 75 seconds, hitting 5 targets obviously would refresh that instantly. But now that is no longer true. So even if you hit 5 targets, you'll still have a 25-second cooldown on it. Even if the enemy team has Vikings and you hit all 7, heroes, it's still not going to completely reduce the cooldown of stage dive. Um, but the bigger, more important aspect of crowd pleaser is actually the larger impact area. So if you look at stage dive normally, right, and then you have increase, it's a substantial increase. It allows you to hit significantly more targets and allows you to stage dive kind of more aggressively and in different situations because the impact is larger. It also, you're going to hit at least 2 to 3 if you're casting it anywhere decently, 2 to 3 heroes. So it's going to reduce the cooldown by 20 to 30 seconds, which is a significant amount. If you feel like the enemy team is bursting you too hard, or you're a solo tank, or you're just not able to use stage, if you're getting killed when you stage dive, Bolts of the Storm is probably going to be the better option. Um, but I could crowd pleaser like 70-80% of my game. Something else I wanted to talk about is when you stage dive, you're actually immobile for a second. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to stage dive and I'm going to spam power slide to do it as fast as possible. And you'll see that I actually can't move for like a fraction of a second here. So he kind of lands and does like pops his arms out and does a little bit of flare, and you can't actually move for a tiny bit time there. Um, and that can allow the aiming team to kind of react to when you stage dive because you can't just immediately power slide. Malfurion roots are actually a really strong counter to E.T.C stage dive because he can root where you're stage diving, because obviously he would just root the center of the circle, and it's impossible to avoid his EDC and you can get blown up. So just be careful of that. That's something that Bolt of the Storm would help with. And besides that, I think that's it. Everything I wanted to cover. So, if you guys have any questions, any comments? If you want me to cover anything in the future, let me know. I'm going to be going to BlizzCon, so I won't be back until the weekend. But if there's anything I can help you with, let me know, guys. Give me some criticism, and have a great day.